Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and boy, there is a lot to go over as I just got out of Matt Wells' virtual National Signing Day early period press conference. That's a mouthful in itself. But man, there was a lot to go over. The last time Matt Wells was in a press conference was before the Kansas game. It was I believe his Monday presser leading up to the Kansas game. Since then, of course, he's tested positive for COVID, was not able to go to the season finale game against Kansas, which Texas Tech won 16-13. There's been tons of speculation, including by myself at Inside the Red Raiders, about Matt Wells' and his coaching staff's position at Texas Tech. He was sick, come to find out. I actually asked him about the whole whirlwind of this time period leading up to today, National Signing Day, which included him being very sick, he said. He said he had a nasty case of the Rona, as a lot of the players call it at Texas Tech, and that it was tough. His family's good. They never tested positive. He's tested negative. He's healthy now, but that it was tough on him. It was tough watching the game, not being able to be there. And then he actually said it was one of the toughest time periods of his life. He said he didn't want to be over dramatic, and he prefaced it by saying he has a lot of empathy for a lot of things that people have gone through or are going through around the world. But just for him, it was agony not being able to be there for that 3.5 hours of that season finale game against Kansas. But then obviously it was also difficult to let go of David Yost, his offensive coordinator. A guy he said that he has a lot of respect for as a man, as a coach, his family, all that. He said that was difficult. And then getting some of his players ready for the NFL, getting the information they need to make decisions on if should they stay or should they go. And I'll get to that here in a minute with some more information of who is staying and who is going. And then National Signing Day. They had all 10 guys all the 10 high school commits that they hoped would sign, did sign, including four-star quarterback Barrett Morton, who, seemed to be kind of taking a step back after the firing of David Yost. So, really, I want to say a couple of things. I want to say, and I wrote about this, for as underwhelmed and disappointed as I was with Kirby Hokutz and Lawrence Skuvanek, the athletic director and president, their press conference on Monday, for basically not really answering most of the questions and seeming kind of just annoyed to have to be there. For as bad as that was, I feel like Matt Wells was that good. This may have been his best press conference. He was confident. He was open. He spoke to a lot of the things that I think Red Raider fans, and certainly myself, were curious about. I'm not saying that, it's turned everything around, Matt Wells is a savior now, but I'm saying in terms of what he could accomplish, what he could communicate today in this press conference, I think he did that, and I think he did it in a very positive manner, in a manner that I think anybody who can just look at this press conference at face value had to be impressed with what Matt Wells had to say. There's a lot of things. There was a lot of ground to cover. I mentioned the players who, should I stay or should I go? Who's staying, who's going? He confirmed TJ Vasher's gone. He got his knee cleaned up, and he's going to try and he's going to declare for the NFL draft and try and have a professional career there. Two guys that are coming back is tight end Travis Kuntz, which is big, and then DeMarcus Fields, senior cornerback. That's huge because he was really, really good down the end of the season. I've always liked DeMarcus Fields. The guy's a good football player, and maybe some continuity with the staff, assuming that there is going to be with Keith Patterson, and it sounds like there's going to be with the defensive side of the staff, that he could really have a really good season. Now, his counterpart, the starting cornerback on the other side of the field, Zach McPherson, he's still up in the air. Coach will say he's not sure if he's going to stay or go. So we'll have to see about that. And then also Jacob Morgenstern, linebacker, who honestly, he's a grad transfer, came in from Duke. He was much better than I was even hoping for as a linebacker. He was really good. He got really beat up by the end of the year, as Coach Keith Patterson told me, but he was a really good player. He was a difference maker. Of course, Rico Jeffers and Colin Schooler already announced they're coming back, so that's huge. Jack Anderson's going. I think we need to watch for Alan Bowman, Dawson Deaton, some key players just to see if they're going to return or not. But I feel like getting the information that Fields is returning is huge. I mean, the defense has a chance to be competitive next year with some of those seniors coming back, so that's something to watch for. A big question is I haven't gotten into recruiting yet, and it was a National Signing Day press conference, but offensive coordinator is a big question, right? I mean, it has to be. So I asked Coach Wells about, what the timetable was for offensive coordinator, and then would that offensive coordinator be allowed to bring in some of his guys, his own staff? And Wells said it could be this weekend, or it could be, between now or this weekend and 2 weeks out, to where they announce, the hiring of the offensive coordinator. He obviously does have some guys in mind. He said there could be some guys that their seasons are still going on, so that's something to watch for sure. In terms of bringing a staff in, he said, to me, it sounded like he wants to keep the guys he has, but if there's an offensive coordinator that he wants, and that's the thing that offensive coordinator wants, is to bring a guy or two, then he's probably going to let him. It just depends on who the guy is and what the situation is and who he wants to bring in and all of that. But it sounds like that is very fluid. But it sounds like also if Wells gets his chance or his choice, that it would just be the offensive coordinator come in. I don't know how realistic that is, but that's just this. That answer was pretty standard, and it makes sense. So in terms of recruiting, yeah, one of the things I really liked about what Coach Wells said was, look, these 10 guys have been long-time commits, with the exception of Isaac Smith, who flipped from Tulsa, I don't know, a month or two ago. Hard to keep track, right, of time with the COVID year that is 2020. But a lot of these guys committed on the strength of several visits, but big time to at least one. Almost all these guys went to at least one of these, if not both, of the big visitor weekends before everything got shut down. One was a junior day in January. The other was like the start of spring ball in March, just right before everything got shut down. And on both of those occasions, they, full court press in terms of literally and figuratively, showing everybody as much as they can do with it not being an official visit. It was an unofficial visit for everybody. But they showed them practice in the spring ball big visitor weekend. But in both cases, they went to Tech basketball games, and these recruits really got to see, Red Raider Nation, Raider Power, all that. Just what it's like to go to a real Texas Tech sport event and see what this fan base can be like. And it was a huge part of what you signed today. That went a long way towards it. I think these guys came in and really got Lubbock and Texas Tech, and that's what Coach Wells intimated. And I asked him, with in-person recruiting being shut down, with it being a dead period, I think mid-April at least, how are they going to be able to recreate that? Because I think it's a unique situation with Texas Tech, and he spoke to that, just how important it is to sell the people of West Texas. What a great college town Lubbock is. How this community really supports Texas Tech. So he said it's difficult. And he hopes everything opens up really soon. This is coming from a guy who just had really bad symptoms, but he wants to get back on the recruiting trail. He said he hasn't gone out on the recruiting trail since January. He saw a couple of guys who signed in the last class play basketball together, or against each other. Like L.B. Moore from Amarillo, Tascosa, and Donovan Smith from Friendship played basketball against each other last January. So it's been almost a year since they've been out on the recruiting trail, which is forever. So hopefully hopefully everyone, the vaccine works, and somehow we figure out how to open society back up again, and of course recruiting would be a part of that. And then on the recruiting front, he talked about these 10 commits, and I just went over them in the last recruiting scoop. I've talked about these guys a lot. They've been long-time commits. He mentioned the loyalty that they've shown over the past year or so. That's really what stood out to him. And these guys are really highly rated. They're more highly rated than the traditional classes that Texas Tech has signed in the recent past. And that's just a fact, Jack, if you look at 24/7 Sports. It's not a big class, so there are still some holes they're going to have to fill out. And he said basically the junior college route and the transfer portal is where they plan on doing that. Now, I still expect maybe a couple more high school guys between, for them to pick up, by the February regular signing period. But this is this is going to be the main part of your high school recruiting class. And then they will augment it, it's obvious, with, transfer portal, grad transfers, all that. Because they said they still will need to get older in some positions. Those positions he mentioned, which could change, are offensive line, perhaps a defensive lineman or two, obviously defensive back because they didn't sign one, and linebacker. I think they might get one, but they have some young guys. They've got like Derek Lewis, I really like coming up, who's a freshman this year. Schooler and Rico come back for at least another year. You have some guys coming up, some younger guys that I like, but I think you might have to get one or two in the meantime. So there is a lot to cover. I'm going to, if you haven't seen them already, there will be notes, kind of bullet point style notes for everyone on Inside the Red Raiders. So look for that as well if you like to see copy format. There's tons of content, recruiting stories on Barron, on Bradley, on Cameron Valdez, on just the entire class. There's the 24/7 Sports signing show, which as me recording this is still going on, and I'm sure there's a recording of it that you could access. So there's just so much content for y'all to access, and I really strongly advise you to take advantage of it. Of course, if you're watching this, you're most likely a subscriber on Inside the Red Raiders, and feel free to hit me up with any questions you have in the Hump Day chat. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.